Hello, my name is Casey Hirsch. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, author, and founder of LightYourSparkle.life. I'm very excited today to be spending some time with Mary Sise. For over 2 decades, Mary has been a leading voice in advancing the field of energy psychology. In addition to being traditionally trained as a licensed clinical social worker, Mary integrates energy psychology methods into her practice and has trained hundreds of clinicians in these methods. She's earned her Diplomate in comprehensive energy psychology. Mary has pioneered methodologies and techniques while also advocating for expanding clinical understanding about the integral interrelationship of the mind, body, and spirit in the healing paradigm. She presents at conferences and develops training and coursework, especially in the areas of releasing negative beliefs, healing trauma and dissociation, and the role and responsibilities of the healer. Mary is past president of the Association for Comprehensive Energy Psychology, the international professional organization dedicated to training, research, and humanitarian work. In 2007, Mary co-authored the book, The Energy of Belief, Psychology's Power Tools to Focus Intention and Release Blocking Beliefs. This is a self-help book for the general public to learn how to use energy psychology methods of touch and breath, TAB. In 2020, to serve during the pandemic, Mary created a program called Tapping the Panic Out of Pandemic. This is simple and user-friendly, comes as an ebook, and demystifies tapping and the brain. It's now available on Kindle. In addition, Mary has been offering free Tapping Tuesdays, another program to help those impacted by COVID-19 quickly learn how to calm down their survival brain, tap into their intuition, and fearlessly navigate these uncertain times. Mary maintains a practice in Albany, New York, and I'm very excited to speak with her today and talk about energy psychology. Hello, Mary.
Hi, Casey. Thank you for having me. It's my joy to be here with everyone.
Thanks for being here. You know, this platform that you have about the integration of the mind, the body, with energy, psychology, and all of these different modalities that you incorporate into your clinical work. I'm very intrigued with this because my platform is also helping people connect the dots of their lives and how there really is an important connection between the physical and the emotional. And then, of course, what makes us who we are, our passions and our spirit. Talk a little bit for people who don't know what is energy psychology. Can you explain to people what it is and how you use it in your practice?
Sure. The basic way to think of energy psychology is that, we know we have a physical body. So you have a physical body, but you also have an energetic body. And we know that the physical body isn't solid. So for example, if you looked at yourself, your hand under an electron microscope, you would see your energy buzzing, it's moving around. And we know in traditions, the Eastern traditions, they've talked about these energy systems. So in China, for example, they'll talk about the meridian system. Anybody who's been to an acupuncturist, that's what he does. He needles the meridian system. It's all about energy and your flow. In India, they have the nadis, which are similar to the meridians, and that will also, you can hear of the chakras. And the way I look at it is your meridians are like train tracks and your chakras are like Grand Central Station, like the big power centers in the body. And they've mapped these energy centers and they've mapped these meridians with dis-ease in the body. Where is your energy blocked? And that's what they would look at in order, and they'd free up the blockage, okay, in order for your energy to be coherent and moving, and you wouldn't have dis-ease. And that's a whole system of medicine. And there's even places in China still to this day where an acupuncturist, he only gets paid if his people are healthy, which is like not exactly what we do here in the good old USA. So it's all about keeping your clients, your patients healthy and vibrant, which is why they do qigong, why yoga, all those things. It's really to keep your energy, the flow moving, so that you're not in disease. So energy psychology, the simplest way to think of it is we use those energy systems for psychological problems. So you come to me and you, for example, you have grief and it's in the lung, you're having a lung problem. Okay. Well, I know from Chinese medicine that grief is often stored in the lungs. So then I would know a little bit, and everybody's different. So you can't say it's a direct correlation all the time, but I would know, okay, I might ask questions about the losses you had. Maybe you had a loss as a young child, and it takes a while. It's not like you have a loss and all of a sudden your lungs are shot. But like it's often accumulation of the loss of that, and things that maybe you couldn't cry about as a child, or that your mom left. Or I would like, I know, and I've seen, having done this for over 20 some odd years, there's if you clear up the emotional component, oftentimes the physical body responds, and everything is in alignment and people get well. Of course, being a psychologist, psychotherapist, a social worker, you can't say it had anything to do with that. But like, hello, it's pretty amazing what goes on in your office. So.
It sounds really exciting. Now, I have Crohn's disease, and it wasn't until, unfortunately, maybe 10, even 5 years ago that I started to really understand the connection between my early childhood trauma and how the disease really perfectly manifested in my gut. Sense why it would land in my gut and maybe not another part of my body. And as I started to unpack, what's going on? Why am I physically not shifting when I'm doing, all these things, taking supplements, and I ballroom dance, and I have a really great team of integrative physicians and healers, but yet I'm still not shifting through the illness and coming out at least on another side that I feel like I'm really making progress. So I'm curious, like for someone like me, for example, that comes in with an autoimmune illness and has this gut issue, and we know how much the emotions are mirrored in our gut, and we hear that, and maybe people don't talk about it as much as it is, but those of us with gut issues, we know that when we're having an emotional upset or we're going through a lot of stress, that it goes right to our gut and our symptoms often get worse. What can you say about that?
Well, there's two things. Stomach meridian is where there's a lot of fear that is stored in the stomach meridian. So that would be where you'd see stomach. If it's your like digestive system and like colon, things like that, we would look at, what are you holding on to? Like holding on to shit, get it? Get the metaphor? It's not a metaphor, it's true. It's like things that you couldn't release. And so oftentimes when people have had early trauma, they couldn't ever talk about it. It wasn't really happening. So it's you like hold on to it. You hold on to it. People who hold on to resentments, people who hold on to, so I would look there. When I do an intake, that's what I'm like a sleuth. I'm looking around for, and because I know that once that it comes to consciousness, and we can do some work around that. It might be forgiveness work. It might be this anger work that you never were able to do, or this rage work that's in you that like you just never could express. Then things free up. It's like it's almost like magic. With autoimmune also, a lot of times you would look, if I'm looking at the chakras, because the truth is you can intervene anywhere. I can intervene at any point in it, okay? Like I can go to the chakras, the meridians. I can intervene just with what you're telling me the story is. Once I know, energy. I don't need to use energy, even language like chakras. But we know with people who have immune system problems, what's happened is oftentimes in their childhood, they never really felt safe. So they never really could truly relax and be fully here. They're always like, it's like the guard at the gate. He never takes a vacation, and he's like he's like shooting at everybody who comes within a 5-mile radius when he doesn't need to. It's like you're always on hyper alert, because in your childhood that really served you. It kept you safe. And so you have these patterns of being, but you're never really fully here, fully relaxed, fully rested. And then eventually your immune system just kicks out, and that's what we see. So a lot of it would be working at that, quieting your limbic brain down, quieting your stomach down, quieting all that down so that you can see that you're safe in the today that you've created.
I feel like even though my life's a certain way now, because of the experiences I've had as a child behind the scenes,
Yeah.
there's always this vigilance. And my nervous system is always a
Yeah.
little bit ramped up, a little bit on alert, and sometimes a lot on alert. I noticed, like with the COVID stuff happening, even though I feel like I was relatively removed from it because, I didn't have any family members that got sick. And I'm not in the medical profession where I'm on the front lines working with patients on that level. Something happened in my body and I had a really intense, relapse.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept looking and I know enough now that I cannot say it's a coincidence that the relapse happened during all of this that was going on around me, because I feel like I'm sensitive enough that even on an unconscious level, my body was saying, ooh, it's not safe to go outside. And my system just went a lot more into overdrive.
Mm-hmm. Totally, totally. And if you grew up, for example, this is a lot of what I talk about in the Tapping the Panic book. What's happening is we have a brain that's hardwired for survival. And there's a part of your brain that's called your amygdala. It's your fight or flight thing. It's like a smoke alarm in there. And its job is to say, oh, I've seen this before. I'm in danger. Watch out, watch out, watch out. And it doesn't care whether this person is your, this this person is your coworker and a really nice guy, but he's got red hair, like the guy with red hair that put a gun to your head when you were 5. What it doesn't care. It's like a smoke alarm. Like your oven, your smoke alarm goes off. It doesn't care that your oven's dirty. It just smells smoke. So I got to set an alarm. So what happens, where people are really getting triggered in this pandemic, there's a few things that are really getting them. If you grew up in a household that was unpredictable, then forget it. You are so triggered in this pandemic. You just can't settle down because your amygdala is firing. The louder it's the alarm goes, the less of your brain is online. The top part of your brain, your neocortex. I really explain this in this book. It's a very easy read, and it's kind of like, it's kind of like neurobiology for dummies. So like what happens is your smoke alarm goes off, your neocortex goes offline. You can't even think. All you know is you're just agitated. You're agitated. Or, so anything unpredictable, that would get you. And anything like for some people, they grew up without money as children. So this money thing, everybody's triggered about money. Maybe you didn't have food as a kid. So the money, somebody's going to take my money. That's going. Death, dying, injury, being sick. I mean, there's just so much in this pandemic that's pushing everybody's buttons. Everybody's going limbic on us. And that's why these tapping things, they can just quiet your limbic brain down so you can quiet down and you can meditate, or you can get tap into your intuition. Because right now, they're just kind of screaming. Right. Now we're getting used to it. So that's why you see people doing a little bit better, because now we're kind of used to, this is like our new normal. So we're used to it and we're not as scared of it. And so that's why people are doing a little bit better. But I mean, I don't know about you, the first couple of weeks when everybody was home and looking at it like, oh my God, and agitated and like, everybody's limbic brain was like crazy. But now we're kind of getting used to, this isn't so bad, or maybe, so it's quieting down now. So yeah.
And
but I was speed that up. Mm-hmm.
And I was largely unconscious of what you just said. It makes sense so much because, I know what it was like the first couple weeks when I went to the grocery store, and I remember seeing the crowds of people, like it seemed like crowds of people in my small town waiting out front. And I went to get a shopping cart and people looked at me like, oh, you just cut in front of me. Like there was such an intensity. And I looked at this lovely gentleman who was greeting people at the entrance, and he smiled at me through his mask. And I will never forget how that made me feel. Just for a moment, I felt just a little sense of calmness. And then as soon as I got into the store, there was this sort of race to get to the aisles and get different food items.
Get the toilet paper. Everybody wanted toilet paper. Remember? Like, what did they think was going to happen,
Yes.
Yeah. Toilet paper was big. Yeah.
But you mentioned the idea about money, and that is something that when you just said that, I had this moment of wow, that's so true because
Mhm.
and I never thought about that.
Mhm.
I'm really interested in how to help people make these connections because when you're physically sick and you've got these symptoms, it's really easy to focus on, going to the doctor, how do you get rid of the symptom? But
Mhm.
the symptoms don't just go away unless you have, or you can put a band-aid on them. Sometimes you can take medication and
Yeah.
there's ways to take the symptoms down. But this idea of really getting to the root, it's
Mhm.
really tough to have the symptoms and really start healing unless you address this other component. And I was thinking about money. Now, I grew up with a lot of poverty.
Mhm.
And just in this moment as we're talking, I'm thinking, even though I knew that my husband's job was going to be all right.
Mhm.
I knew that like in my brain, like my cognitive brain said, I know we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
There still was this part of me that during that, several month period,
Mhm.
I did have this thought, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? And I kept telling myself and trying to squash it. It's okay because your husband has a job, you guys are both okay,
Mhm.
but I grew up very poor and
Mhm.
money was always an
Yep.
issue.
Yeah. Yeah. So and so logic goes right out the window when you're limbic. You can't even access it. And that's kind of like the joke a little bit about therapy. Not that I want to put therapy down. I am a therapist, but like you can't talk to the limbic brain. You just can't. You just like it doesn't listen. It's like a loud smoke alarm. And it's just you've got to reset it. You've got otherwise the next thing that comes along, or the client goes home and somebody pushes the buttons again, and they're off to the races again. So there's nothing, really what I really would love your everyone who hears this to hear. There's nothing wrong with you. There's absolutely nothing wrong with any of us. It's what happened to you that has wired you and programmed you and set your brain to do this and your body to respond this way. And so you can you can fix it. Everything is fixable because at your essence, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with me. You were born whole, complete, beautiful, light, and then somebody took you home, and things got a little crazy wherever you lived. So it that's what your essence is this light, is this brilliance, and you're an amazing creator. We all are, but we create with these layers upon layers of fear, like glasses of fear, and we can't seem to get out of it. But you activate your energy system of the body with the tapping or using chakras or any of these, and it happens much faster. I'm not saying therapy doesn't work. I'm just talk therapy doesn't work, because it does. It's just slower.
Yeah,
And
I
I
think
don't
there's
like to suffer. I'm like, suffering is overrated as far as I'm concerned. I'm gonna like fix it and go back to who we really are.
Yeah, and I think there's a time, Mary, and a place for the talk
Mm-hmm.
therapy, but I really believe that the trauma and this programming can be so deeply rooted
Mm-hmm.
in the way that the body automatically responds, in the tissues and the cells of the body, that talking doesn't, that's sort of that rational logic that, I want to tell myself, I know that money was an issue when I was a kid, but I know money isn't an issue now.
Right.
But my cells and my tissues and my body are saying, I don't believe that. That's not what we remember.
It's not safe. It's not
So
safe. It's not
these
safe.
these
Yep.
this is more of like, I feel like tapping is more of a
Mm-hmm.
somatic approach, would you say, where you're actually working with the body itself rather than trying to talk to it and give it logic and a narrative.
Right, right. You know what? I never like to say how I think tapping works, because I have no idea. That's what I say. It took them
I
a
love
hundred
it.
years. It took them 100 years to figure out how an aspirin worked. Like, you really think they're going to figure this out in my lifetime? So they have a lot of theories and a lot of this and a lot of that. I don't know. I just know it works, and people get their lives back,
That's
and they're not
beautiful.
traumatized over and over again, or they're not doing the same things that don't work for them, or ruin their relationships, or they can't sleep, or they're, this is why I'm drinking, or why, my addictions, or there's they get their lives back. So who knows how it works? I just know that it works. That's the way and I have years and years, and I've seen miracles, seeming miracles. It's just we don't know how it works.
I love that attitude because there's a nice place to land when you can
Mm-hmm.
surrender
Mm-hmm.
to knowing knowing that you're better or something feels right and just
Mm-hmm.
being okay with that.
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
energy approaches, I've tried many of them in my life and have had a lot of really amazing results from them, and that feeling of just, okay, I feel better, and I don't have to know why. I just know that it works, and that belief, that intuition and that belief that can just
Mm-hmm.
guide you to allow you to continue doing what you know is helping, despite maybe what research does or doesn't say, or what
Yeah.
conventional systems may or may not say. It doesn't matter if it works for you.
Mm-hmm.
It works. And it's also really empowering to know
Mm-hmm.
that we can change, like you're saying here, we through tapping
Yeah.
and the work that you're doing, we can
Mm-hmm.
change the way that we're programmed. So we may be used to living a certain way and maybe having that constant anxiety or that feeling like you're in a funk and you just can't get out of it, and that
Yeah.
can become a normal because we adapt. But you don't have to stay that way. There are ways to reprogram your mind and your body, and we're powerful that way, and that's empowering to
Mm-hmm.
know that we
Yeah.
can do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're
So
really powerful beings. We are powerful beyond our wildest dreams. We're just making a mess. That's all. Like we're just creating from our fear and our this and our that and our separation, and we're really making a big mess down here. But once you free yourself up from all that, it's really easy to create. Really, we already are creating. Like we're creating all the time, whether you're aware of it or not. So be aware of it. Every word, every thought, everything creates. Mm-hmm.
well, Mary, it has been so fun. I could spend so much more time with you. It's been an awesome
Mm-hmm.
time to just, talk to you about these things. And for people who are eager to learn more, maybe participate in some of your trainings, where
Mm-hmm.
can they go find more about your work?
I'm right on my website, Mary Sise, Sise. It's easy, marysise.com. So all the information's there. There's things they can free download things and charts and things they can get from there. Free tapping Tuesdays, at least for a while. We're going to continue to do that while this COVID thing is hanging out, and we're having fun with it. So, yeah. So, and anyone's a therapist, come and train, have, be supervised, whatever we can do to serve you. That's my joy. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Great. Thank you
Thank you.
so
It was
much.
great to be here. Thank you so much.